Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I am doing Comic Uno episode 133, and that's a show where I review all the comics I read this week in one show. So let's get started. I go worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. We have a lot of books this week, 29. Seems like this is always a really heavy week, but let's get started and see what's going on. So, number 29, worst pick of the week was Earth 2 Society, issue 9. So with this book, I'm just kind of reading it because I've read this book since the beginning. And not just Earth 2 Society, I meant Earth 2 of the New 52. I've been reading since the beginning, so I don't really want to drop it. And I do like Lois Lane, Red Tornado, as you guys might know, so I do not want to drop it, but the world building needs to be a lot better for this story. And that's definitely a complaint I've had for the story. So yeah, I felt like this issue really suffered that we don't really know much about the world. But there's small moments I liked. Probably Red Tornado making like the new constitution of Earth 2 Society. I thought that was pretty cool. But other than that, artwork is kind of like anime style, which I don't think really works for the book, and overall pretty boring. So Earth 2 Society issue 9 gets 2 stars, and that's 29. Alright, moving on to number 28. Sadly, you see this book so low, and that is Darth Vader, issue 16, which I've been picking up Darth Vader since Vader Down, and this is kind of the first time I'm reading Darth Vader as its own kind of title and not part of a story arc, and I don't know if I really am interested in it. It's going back to that girl where they have the hunter, this royal family that I don't really quite care about, so, and then also the artwork, it just has a lot of line work that I don't think is totally necessary. It makes it seem less clean, the artwork, so it's not necessarily my art style I would personally prefer for the book, but yeah, I don't, especially because we have such a big week all the time for like the third week in a month, and if Darth Vader keeps coming out during this heavy weeks, I might have to drop Darth Vader and just follow Star Wars, because those are the characters, I guess, that might be a little bit more interesting to me, because I'm not really enjoying this arc for Darth Vader. But we'll have to see next time issue 17 comes out if I'll pick it up. But I gave that 2.5 stars. So that was number 28. Moving on to number 27, which is Green Lantern Edge of Oblivion, issue 2. Another series I was disappointed was so low, because I love Tom Taylor's writing. He's one of my favorite writers, and he's writing this series, and I feel like we need to have, I feel like you would have had to read the Lost Army book. I think that's it. Yeah, Lost Army was the last, sorry, there's something on my camera that's annoying me. Give me 1 minute. Okay, now that's better. Anyways, so, yeah, so going back to it, Lost Army, was the series before this, and I felt like you would have had to read that series to kind of understand what's going on with Edge of Oblivion. So I think that's kind of the reason I'm not totally into this book, but I will say the artwork is really pretty. Kind of wish there was more character story here, but it's more about like, alright, let's fight this villain and save the world. So something that we've kind of seen before, and I don't know if I'm totally invested in. So this is another series. If it's a heavy week, I don't know if I'm going to pick up the next issue, even though I really do want to support Tom Taylor's work. I just haven't really been interested in this arc, and once you get to like issue 4, it's like, oh, you have to finish it. So I might drop it at this point, because I just haven't enjoyed issue 1 or issue 2, because I think you would have had to read Lost Army to understand what's kind of going on. Alright, I think we're up to 26, and that is actually a book that was recommended to me, and that was Badger issue 1, and that's from Devil's Due, or probably Devil's Due. It's a indie company, and I read the issue, and I will say it's not a bad story. It just wasn't for me. It's psychological, which I usually like, but it's more about, going into the military, having trauma after that, and seeing, what this guy's mind is after going into the military and dealing with war, and it kind of connects to like his love for his dog, and so I don't know if I really like that part. Also, the artwork is really simple, and that's something I think it could have used more detail. It's really light coloring, So yeah, the best thing to say, it just was not a book for me, but if you like those type of psychological war stories, you might like this book. So Badger issue 1 gets 2.5 stars. Alright, let's see, I think we're up to number 25. We are up to number 25, and that is Zoadiac Starforce, issue 4, which is actually the last issue, it seems like, of the miniseries, which I thought this was an ongoing series, so I was a little confused by that. And I really liked the beginning of Zoadiac Starforce, but by the end, I thought it was very cluttered. And even though I like the bright artwork, and I think it fits for what they're trying to do, make it like a Sailor Moon type story, but making it like an American type Sailor Moon story, which I enjoyed that. But there's things that happen here where you're going into the mind of our main characters and kind of going psychological with these characters. But I don't know if I cared enough about them to really care about their journey. Like, our main character's like talking to her mom, and I'm like, I don't know if I care about, I think her name's Emma. I don't know if I really care about her character enough to kind of go into this world and spend so much time there. So I think this would have benefited more if this was an ongoing series. I think it just cut a lot of stuff short in this issue, and I was a little disappointed with that this was just a mini-series, and it kind of ended on a note where I'm like, oh, alright. I don't know if this really felt like a mini-series to me. So yeah, Zoadiac Starforce, issue 4 gets 2.5 stars for me. Alright, I think we're up to 24 now. We are. And that is Batman Superman, issue 29. And this is another Tom Taylor book, so I pick up all his books because I really do enjoy his writing. But with this arc, I feel like it's a bit fillerish. It's something I don't think you necessarily need to read, but what's fun about it is definitely the relationship between Batman and Superman. I love this little joke where they come up with like a code name of like when someone's in trouble. So they come up with like banana chip muffin or something like that, and then Batman's like, I'm never going to say that. And he gets in trouble and he needs Superman. He's like, banana muffin. So I enjoyed that. I thought that was kind of funny for Batman and his personality. And yeah, I think that's definitely the best part of the book is obviously their friendship, and Tom Taylor knows their friendship very well. But the mystery itself is something I wasn't totally interested in. It's about this alien who dies, who has connection to both of them, and they need to learn the mystery, and I wasn't really interested in that portion of it. Batman and Superman in space dealing with a mystery. I think that could be a little bit stronger. But good character interaction overall. I just feel like this is a bit of a filler story, for I guess a filler book in general, because obviously it never really progresses a serialized story, but yeah, so Batman Superman issue 29 gets 3 stars. And that is number 24. Moving on to number 23, another book that I'm sad to see this low, and that is Totally Awesome Hulk, issue 3, and another story that doesn't really progress that much. With this issue, you learn a little bit of what happened to Bruce Banner, which was great. You get a little dash of that story, but mostly it's still continuing with Totally Awesome Hulk thinking he can control his rage, and he probably can't. His team kind of being worried about that, and then having this, this villain who wants to fight him. And of course his hormones are getting in the way of that. And I would say, like, she definitely reminds me of Harley Quinn. Not so much her attitude, but her look, and I keep thinking Harley Quinn when that pops up. But, yeah, the story itself, again, kind of forgettable. Artwork was beautiful, though, and hopefully the story kind of just progresses a little more, like we did with issue 1. I thought issue 1 was great, but the story hasn't really progressed since then, and we're already up to issue 3. So yeah, Totally Awesome Hulk issue 3 gets 3 stars. Alright, so now we're up to 22. Yes, we are up to number 22, which is Weirdworld, issue 3, another book I'm disappointed to see so low. I'm gonna keep saying that, but Weirdworld, I really enjoyed this series, but I thought this was, it didn't concentrate enough on Becca, I think, and that's definitely a portion I really like about this series. Also, the artwork is still gorgeous for this book, and I enjoy that. But it concentrates a bit on the villain, and the problem with that is that when they go into the villain story, it seems like it's in the middle of their story. You never really learn of why you should care about this villain. I think they should take an issue and go back to say, alright, this is who the villain is, and make it interesting, because here you don't really know who this person is, and she's kind of this you do see her, but again, it seems like you're starting in the middle of the story and you have this left out information. And it definitely does not have as much Becca here. Becca is just more of like, I want to go home. Wait, I'm the key of what? And that's pretty much the whole issue. So overall, I gave this 3 stars. I thought this is a bit weaker than what we've been getting with Weirdworld, because Weirdworld has been a very cool emotional story at the same time, which we didn't really get to see here, and a good comedic story where I didn't have as many laughs with this issue. So Weirdworld issue 3 gets 3 stars. Alright, now we're moving on to number 21, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, issue 5, and it's sad to say that I feel like Guardians has gotten back to what it used to be, where in the last volume, in the beginning, I felt like Bendis did not know where to go with the story. And here, there's so much story to explore with Thing on the Guardians now, with Kitty as Star-Lord, which I don't even know how long that's gonna last. You know, there's a lot of different status quos here, but they just don't really do much with it. This is very much an action issue where, yeah, in the end you get some progression where Star-Lord gets fired as the prince, which was interesting. But it just goes back to the status quo, it looks like, for the next issue. And again, it's just kind of more fighting, brainless action in this issue. And not a lot of character stuff like I would have rathered. So I gave this 3 stars. I thought it could have been a little bit better this week. And hopefully, with the next arc, we'll get some more meat to the story, because it feels like this kind of standstill once again. Alright, moving on to number 20, which is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. issue 2. And this story is pretty interesting. Now, the reason it's a little lower is that the artwork is very plain. Goes for the coloring, goes for all of it, really. It's just so plain, and I want more from it. But going into the actual story, I am interested because we get to see, or at least learn a little bit more about Lola, who is the ex-girlfriend of Coulson, and everyone's like, you named your ex-girlfriend after your car? That's a little weird. I mean, you named your car after your ex-girlfriend? That's a little weird. But we do learn that the ex-girlfriend's actually a telepath, and she might be working for the villain, and that's interesting. I'm glad that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is finally becoming serialized, but I would like to see a little bit more of the actual team. It's more about Coulson in this issue than the other teammates also. So I think they need to do a better job at telling their story also. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. issue 2 gets 3 stars. Alright, I think we're up to number 19. I'm going to double check though, because I think we're up to 19. Yeah, we're up to number 19, which is Legend of Wonder Woman issue 2. A lot higher than what the book was, which I'm glad to see. I like this issue a bit more because we get to see Wonder Woman a bit older. We definitely get to see more of her origins, I think we all know, which is Steve Trevor crash on Themyscira, what that all means. We learn a little bit more about the god stuff, and her mentor actually dies in this issue. So there's actually a lot going on. Now, the reason this is lower is because I still think there's a lot of exposition in the issue, and it's still a very wordy book. It's going to take you a long time to read this issue. And it's a lot of words where it's just like, oh, you know, a lot of Greek mythology type words. So it kind of drags sometimes the book. And like I said, it does take a little while to get through it. But the story is definitely getting more interesting now that Diana's older. I think the artwork fits a bit more too now that Diana's older. And it's definitely getting an interesting place. I think the dialogue could be a little less heavy, but it's still, you know, grasping me to see where this goes. So Legend of Wonder Woman issue 2 gets 3 stars. That's number 19. Alright, moving on to number 18, which is Spider-Gwen issue 5. Now, this I would really want to have a little higher, because Spider-Gwen's one of my favorite series. And also, last issue was my pick of the week, and this dropped down a lot more than pick of the week. Because this is a side story and also had a guest artist. I don't know how long this is going to be for. It seems like probably just this issue. And the artwork is a lot bolder than what we're used to. And it seemed like a lot of stuff was going on because of the art. And also the story is very much a side story. It talks more about Captain America, which was interesting because Captain America wants Spider-Woman to actually, you know, show that she's innocent. And then there is an interesting story between Matt Murdock and Captain Stacy. Matt Murdock knowing that Gwen is Spider-Woman. I want to say Spider-Gwen, but is Spider-Woman, and seeing how Captain Stacy takes that. Now, the reason it's kind of lower is the art, I would say. It kind of bogged it down a bit. And also, it's a story I don't think we necessarily needed. It's very much a side story, and after reading the last issue, I wanted, the outcome of that issue. I kind of hate that we had to take that pause. Because, again, you wait a month for this book, you kind of, you have to wait again. You have to wait another month now to see what happens. So, Spider-Gwen issue 5 gets 3 stars. Alright, now going on to number 17, a book that's a lot higher than usual, and that is Black Canary issue 8. And I think they double shipped this, actually, this week, because I guess they were a little bit behind. Now, I'm not saying this is an amazing book. It's still not. But I do think there's an improvement now that Black Canary's not really part of the Black Canaries anymore. She's not a rock star. But, the band still is involved in the story. And I do think the series is probably going to end soon with whatever's going on with DC Rebirth. What I liked it was seeing a little, we got to see Vixen, which was kind of cool, and see Vixen and Dinah team up. It was a really interesting concept. When she is trapped, she has this kind of metal thing around her neck that she couldn't talk at all. I thought that was really interesting and cool to see throughout at least half the issue. And then we learned a little bit more about this white ninja who's actually Dinah's aunt. So that was pretty cool. So those are the parts that are definitely the positives. The negatives, going back to the band. I'm like, alright, I don't really care about these bandmates anymore. I thought we were done with that. I'd rather go back to the ninjas and Vixen. So I gave it 3 stars though. I thought it was a bit of an improvement, but still not like my favorite book in the world. But I'm at least getting more interested in Black Canary. Alright, I think we're up to, what are we up to now? 16? We are up to number 16, which is the last issue of Mirror's Edge. I could try to pronounce this. Exordium, issue 6. And, I like this book. I'm not saying the story is like the best thing in the world, because the game's story is not the best thing in the world. But the idea I like about this book is definitely the artwork and the action we see here. Now, I'm not usually a person just to rate a book by like, oh my god, the action is amazing. But I think for a book that's based on a video game that is mostly about the action and the parkour portion of it, that's kind of how you have to rate this book also. Again, when I played the video game, I don't really care about, the story of the sister or whatever happened in that game. But I cared more about, like, oh my god, this looks beautiful, and you're seeing the awesome parkour. And I feel like Mirror's Edge did parkour before it was cool to do parkour and all these different mediums. So it was really cool to see that, and I think the action flowed so well. And even the story was pretty good. Like, it was actually probably better than the other issues with the story. Seeing her arch nemesis person, seeing what type of character she is, and then actually leads us into this new game that's coming out very soon, I think by the end of this month. So I liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was a pretty good issue for, again, what it's supposed to accomplish with a Mirror's Edge comic book. Alright, moving on to number 15, which is a book that is a lot higher than usual, and that is All New Hawkeye, issue 4. Now, I thought this is a bit of an improvement for the series with Kate's background and finding out a little bit more with the flashbacks of her father. And there's some really good monologues with her, saying, I always thought my father was a superhero. I always thought he was a good person, and then learns he wasn't. Now, the negatives of this book is definitely the present story with the children and Clint, not being with Kate and them breaking up their team again. I'm like, oh my god, just like put them together again. That's why we're reading this book. How many times are you going to separate them? And how many times are we going to read about these children? I'm so done with them. So that's definitely a part I don't like. But the Kate part of the story was well done. Artwork-wise, I still think both needs an improvement. Flashbacks are still too bright, in my opinion. And present story still needs a lot more detail in the artwork, with facial expressions looking exactly the same in each panel. Some people not having eyes in panels. It definitely needs some more improvement. But I will say I enjoyed this issue more than I have with All New Hawkeye in the past. So All New Hawkeye issue 4 gets 3.5 stars. And that is, I don't even remember, I think it's number 14. Let's see. No, it's number 15. Now we're up to number 14, which is Batman Batman and Robin Eternal, issue 19, a book a lot higher than usual, because we are getting to the meat of the story finally, where we get to see everyone work as a team, trying to fight off Mother, where you find out that the fear gas is able to do that. So our team is just trying to feed everyone fear gas, especially Harper, who's now being controlled by Mother. And by the end, when she's being, has the fear gas on her, she's attacking Cassandra because of what Cassandra did. Because she's not really in her right mind right now. And it was actually cool because we saw her and learned a little bit more about Mother's minions. So I liked that. And maybe there could have been more issues learning about the minions in previous issues instead of kind of wasting time with, Tim and Jason and what they were doing in this series. But I like this issue a lot because we're kind of getting deeper into the story finally and into Harper's subconscious. So Batman and Robin Eternal issue 19 gets 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 13, which is, and one of them fell, hold on. Number 13 is Batman Arkham Knight, Batgirl, and Harley Quinn. Now, this is a book I was actually really looking forward to because, as you guys know, I'm a huge Barbara Gordon fan, and it's kind of cool to see this version of Batgirl once again. But I will say the beginning of the story is very much just an origin story of Barbara Gordon. If you know her origin story, it's, nothing kind of new there. But the second part of the story was fun because you get to see the parallels between Harley and a young Batgirl, where, you learn why Batgirl does the things she does, not because she wants to be Batman, it's because she knows what the symbol represents and she wants to help Batman save Gotham. And then with Harley, it's interesting because she keeps mentioning that Joker's in a cage, but really, she becomes in the cage in the end, which is kind of a cool perspective shot in the last panel of this issue, where we find out, yeah, Harley is the one who's in the cage. So I thought that was definitely interesting. But yeah, if you're a Harley Quinn fan or a Barbara Gordon fan, Ultra fan, I say pick this up. If you're not, you could probably skip this. It's not mind-blowing, but I might have fun with it. So I gave the issue 3.5 stars. Alright, so what are we up to now? We are up to number 12, which is Grimm Fairy Tales issue 119. Now I think this is actually Zenescope's best book, which it should be because it's their flagship book. And this was interesting because we get to see, obviously, our students interact, which is a lot of fun. I really do like everyone's friendship. And this new girl come in, and she's connected to our villain, or at least the one who's been captured by the school. And you see her connection with this villain, which was interesting. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed learning more about a new character. But then again, you also get to see some interesting things happen to our actual main heroes. Like Aladdin contacting Sky, and getting in trouble with Sky's mother. And then, still dealing with Haley being ice and, how that feels. So, yeah, it was a good story. Not the best issue of Grimm Fairy Tales, but I still had enjoyment, and there's still some interesting character development and character interaction. So I gave this 3.5 stars. Alright, I think we're up to number 11. We are up to number 11, which is Starfire, issue 9. Now, I think this would have been a lot higher if we didn't have a guest artist. It's very thin lined. It was kind of hard to get used to. So I kind of wanted, different artists. And also kind of the male characters looked a little weird. Like Soul, his chin looked a little weird over there. But the story in general was a lot of fun. It's the girls going to Terra's home world and learning that there's something not right about it. So someone's taking over. And I did see a character that also looked like the other Terror, so that could be interesting if they introduce both Terrors. I want to try to get the page for that. Yeah, over here there's like a blonde girl from the same place that Atlee's from, so could be our other Terror, so that could be kind of cool. And then we also get to see Starfire's pet from the cartoon show up into the comic, and that was really cute. And to say that actually Starfire and Soul was I want to say Squeaky. What's the pet's name? Is actually the pet, really. So the pet is not actually the pet. They're they're kind of the owner. So I thought that was cool. Cool little dynamic there. So overall, I thought the story was a lot of fun. Artwork obviously was different, but I enjoyed the story overall. And I'm sad to say that Starfire is getting canceled, and I'll be upset because I really do believe Starfire is the best DC title out there right now. So Starfire issue 9 gets 3.5 stars. Alright, so we are moving on to 10, number 10. Which is All New Wolverine, issue 5. Yeah, I thought this was a pretty fun book. We get to see, finally, Janet Van Dyne, because I don't feel like we see her character enough, especially for being such a big character in the Marvel Universe. But it was cool to see her guest star, and also seeing Laura as kind of like an Ant-Man, or Ant-Woman in this issue. But overall, we get to see her clone. Well, what they do is that they go into the clone's body, and they have to destroy these nanobots, and they're zapping it. And then the government agency that made these clones found out where the clones were because of them attacking the nanobots. So now that clone died. So the whole point of them going into the body and doing this whole adventure kind of didn't matter in the end of the issue, which was disappointing. I kind of wish that she was alive in the end, but I guess it gave them more of a persuasion to, hey, we gotta defeat this group of people, which I think they already wanted to defeat them. So that's obviously the negative. But the reason it's high on my list is because I had fun with it. It was nice to see Janet. I thought it was still a fun adventure, but probably one of the weaker issues for All New Wolverine, which has pretty much been a very strong series overall. So I gave All New Wolverine issue 5 3.5 stars, and that is number 10, right? I think we're up to number 9 now. We are up to number 9. Yeah, I think so. I gotta check again. I didn't really check. Okay, number 9. Yes, we are up to number 9. Okay. All New, All Different Avengers, issue 5. Yes, this is like the highest this book has been. And I'm not saying it's perfect, it's not. There's still characters out of character, and the artwork could still be better. But there's some interesting aspects that happen here, that Miss Marvel gets fired. First of all, the opener was a lot of fun. Miss Marvel's writing fan fiction of the Avengers and Thor and somehow Juggernaut and Sam's relationship with each other. So that was a lot of fun. What I liked that came out of the Miss Marvel being fired thing was how Sam reacted to that. And I thought that was in character for Sam. And that Sam got fired after that too. So the only youngin that was left on the team was Miles, and he's still, he's staying strong on the team. And then the end of the issue, we get to see Sam and Thor alone, and Thor does not have her hammer. So it seems like Sam will be the first person to know that Thor is Jane Foster, and I was really excited to see where that cliffhanger goes. Once again, not everyone's in character. Thor, I think, acts a little too overconfident in the book, but it's still a much better issue than last issue and issues before. I think there's a lot of good accomplishments in this issue. We kind of find out that Vision might have something up his sleeve, or he doesn't really have sleeves, but you know what I mean. So he might not be the best person to be on the team because he's pitting everyone against each other, but yeah, still really enjoyed some of the things that happened in this issue. So All New, All Different Avengers issue 5 gets 3.5 stars. That's number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Silk issue 4. So, yeah, this was number 8 on the list, and I like this issue. It doesn't, once again, it does progress the story, but it's a little bit slower, this issue, I felt. But it definitely has an interesting cliffhanger, because Silk is still in the sewers throughout the whole issue. We get to at least an interesting flashback with her, which I want to see if I can get the flashback. But yeah, we got another flashback of her and her father and them spending time with each other. So that was nice. I always like the flashbacks of that. And then Silk in the end of the issue becoming a Green Goblin herself, a Goblin King. How's she going to get out of that? I don't know, but it was fun. It was a fun issue. There's been better issues of Silk, but like I said, there's aspects I enjoyed about it. So, Silk issue 4 gets 3.5 stars. Alright, now we're moving on to number 7, which is Injustice Gods Among Us, Year 5, Issue 3. This book is like the highest it's been in a really long time. Now I'm not, once again, not progressing the story too much with the Batman Superman thing, because that story's just been going on forever. But I definitely like some character moments here. First of all, the opener, which, you know, had nothing to do with story, but seeing Bizarro just trying out his suit, and then thinking it's backwards because of the mirror, and then turns it backwards instead. I thought that was a lot of fun. Again, it had nothing to do with story, but I like that. What I liked about this issue is that we get to see the Batman team work together a bit more. You know, Barbara Gordon doing something, because, like, ever since they introduced her as Batgirl in the story, has done nothing with the character. And even we get some interesting scenes with Damian, you know, why he's still badass, even though he kind of looks like Tim, so and Dick. He kind of looks like more, he has more of the attitudes of Tim and of Dick. He definitely doesn't have that childlike Damian attitude of, I need to kill everything. He plays it a bit more smarter, but in this issue he proves, yeah, I'm still Damian Wayne. So I enjoyed that scene. So yeah, a lot of just great character scenes in this issue. And then seeing that Batman tries to fight Bane on the internet. Not on the internet, but because of the internet. And now that actually tries to make Batgirl try to save Catwoman. That's the whole point. And Batgirl, you know, gets into a fight with Killer Croc. So we'll see how that works out in the next issue. So again, does it progress the Batman Superman battle that much? Not at all. But there's a lot of great character moments here that I enjoyed, and great, beautiful artwork for the series. So I gave this 4 stars, and I had a fun time with it. Moving on to number 6, and that is Spider-Man 2099, issue 6. Now, I enjoyed this book. I really do. And this issue was a lot of fun. It's actually dealing with Inhumans. Not just, I feel like they actually did an Inhuman story right, where they find out, you know, this person that works for Parker Industries is actually Inhuman, and goes into a cocoon, and her girlfriend's really worried about it, and I thought that was an interesting scene. And of course, Miguel is just trying to save the cocoon, and then we find out, like, her abilities in the end of the issue, which was interesting. And then also we're still dealing with, obviously, the Captain America story, which is the best part of this series, and Miguel learning that, yeah, Roberta does not know she's Captain America. But I had fun with this, even though it's like a story that I'm sure we've seen a lot with the Inhumans. Oh my god, another Inhuman. So we've seen it before, but I had fun with this issue. It was cool to see kind of the company deal with one of them being an Inhuman, and then seeing those abilities, and hopefully making this character more fleshed out in the future to really enjoy this character and how she'll work out in Parker Industries after this. So I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars, and that was number 6. And now we're moving on to our top 5. Number 5. Number 5 is All New X-Men, issue 4. Yes, finally, a good issue of this book. Not that it's a bad series, but I've been a little disappointed with the X-Men titles. That hasn't really been higher than 3.5 stars. 4 stars, guys. This is a really solid book. And probably mostly because it doesn't really focus on the team, and it focuses more on Laura and Angel's relationship. Where Angel's kind of getting upset that Laura keeps putting herself in harm's way, and then Laura's like, why do you care? I mean, like, I can heal, who cares? And he's like, well, we're part of a team, we should act like a team. So they're having a fight, but at the same time, you could tell how much these two love each other. And in the end, Laura kind of gets in trouble because she, you know, doesn't really have her team and doesn't call her team. So, you know, it's an interesting way to say, hey guys, let's work as a team, which, again, something we've seen before, but I thought it was told in an interesting way, and I really do like Laura and Angel's dynamic in any series that they appear in, and it's cool to have a whole issue kind of dedicated to them. So, All New X-Men, issue 4 gets 4 stars. I really enjoyed this issue. Alright, moving on to number 4, which is Miss Marvel, issue 4, which is a fun series, a fun issue here. It's a new arc where we get to see Kamala is being torn in different places. She's an Avenger, what she truly wants to be. You know, she's obviously going to school. She's not doing so well in that. And then also her brother's getting married. So she's trying to deal with all that and she totally can't. So she asks Bruno, who's creating this new project, to build clones of her who can kind of talk some stuff, but not really. And things go horrible already. You know, it's a story we've seen, of course, of the clone stuff. We totally seen this, but it's done in such a fun way with Miss Marvel, with great artwork, like the coloring being similar to what Miss Marvel was in the beginning of her series to kind of the new art style we've been getting with Miss Marvel. So, yeah, I really like this book. I enjoyed the character moments, and yeah, you know, it's probably going to be a filler arc. I don't know if it's going to really progress the story that much, but it's definitely doing some great character building and some fun moments with Kamala in her supporting cast. So, Miss Marvel issue 4 gets 4 stars, and that is number 4, right? Yes, number 4. Moving on to number 3, which is a Dark Horse book called King's Road, issue 1, which is a book I kind of randomly got because I liked the description, you know, family, fantasy stuff, and I was like, all right, I'll pick it up. And I was flipping through it, and it, you know, the coloring looked, you know, had a lot of dots and a lot of watercolor. I wasn't sure if I would like it, but it totally worked for the book, and the story is really interesting. It's about this family that, you know, they're a royal family, they live on Earth, and now they find out that the husband has to become the king because his sister became a dog and the brother died in a battle. So now the kids that live on Earth that are their kids don't know their royalty or, you know, anything about this. So it's now them learning a little bit about that world. And they play with, you know, interesting tropes. You know, I'm not saying this is the most original story in the world, but it was fun because they played on tropes because, you know, the mother saying, remember all those archery classes you took? It's because of this. And then, you know, delving into a fantasy world. And I like that. I like when reality can mix with fantasy and you could balance that. And it's that shock value of the kids like, what? We're royalty? What? It was just a really fun book that I enjoyed. So I totally recommend it. And I'm really excited to finish off the miniseries. I was really surprised with it. I gave that 4.5 stars. And that was number 3. Alright, moving on to number 2, which is Sunflower, issue 4, a book I keep telling you guys to pick up because it's amazing, and that's from 451 Media Group. I don't think there has been a time that hasn't been on my top 5. I really enjoyed this book. In this issue, we get to see our main character. She gets her tattoos, which is great, and everyone's like, don't you want to, like, get some pain medication? She's like, nope. And she has this whole back tattoo on her back, and then she finally meets up with the villain, and you see that the villain actually is not as bad as probably her daughter, because we get to see the queen, and well, it's definitely her daughter, and she's like, oh my god, Sunflower, and she's brutal. She wants, you know, the mother to get kicked and bruised, and it's like, oh well, she wants to join us, she's got to go through this. And this is like even with the main villains, like, you sure? So it was interesting to see how brutal the daughter became. It was a really good story. I really liked the journey of our characters here, and the artwork is gorgeous. It's just a great book, and a really cool psychological journey. My only negative is it always seems so short, and I think it's more because, like, I'm enjoying the book so much, it seems really short. I think there's about 2 more issues of the book. So guys, if you have not picked up Sunflower, it's a really, really well done miniseries that I'm totally enjoying. So 4.5 stars. So what was Pick of the Week? Pick of the Week was Batman issue 49. Damn, this book. This was good. This is a good book this week. We get so much emotion and heart in this issue, where Bruce talks to Alfred for most of the issue, and it's Alfred saying, this is the Bruce I want. You're my son. I want you to be happy in this time you've had that you're not Batman. This is what I wanted for you. And Bruce realizes, I can't do that. I have to be Batman. So they go to the cave. They go into the machine that can kill Bruce, and Alfred, you know, Alfred's the only one who could pull the trigger because Bruce figures out that if he dies, and they press the trigger in the right time, he could come back to life as Batman and with all his memories. So Alfred couldn't do that. It's like, I don't want to kill Bruce Wayne to create Batman. So as this is happening, we get to see an awesome cliffhanger with Julie, who's the girlfriend, say, I'll do it. And then everyone's a little confused, like, how did you know? I was like, I knew. And then she talks about, like, Alfred is obviously the person who can't pull the trigger. But I can, because of my past. And then Bruce like, but I won't remember you. And she's like, all right, we'll work that out. And then, of course, in the end of the issue, Bruce becomes Batman. Oh my god, this was so good. It was such a good issue. Sorry, I'm choking. It was a really good issue. That's what happens when you talk for such a long time. Anyways, yeah, so this was a really well done issue, like I was saying. What I liked about it is it really digs deep into who Bruce, who Alfred is as characters, who Batman is, you know? I really like the conversation between Bruce and and Batman, and Bruce and Alfred, because we get to see Alfred just how much he cares for Bruce. It was really well done dialogue there, and that was great. And then that moment about the triggers, like, I don't want to be Joe Chill, I don't want to kill you, you know, this is the version of you I wanted, wanted for you. But I would say my favorite part was definitely the ending with Julie, because I feel like with Julie's character, I really liked her character, but she's definitely could have played the trope where it's like, I am the true villain, I am Bloom, but she's not, and she's a character who's also gone through trauma. I mean, not the same trauma as Bruce, but has a past, and I love her character design because she does have tattoos, and it really shows that she has a past, you know, I like that. And I like that design, and that she could roll up her sleeves, and you see that in this part of the issue too. So anyways, I really enjoyed that, and I like that Julie is kind of a different love interest that we've seen for Bruce, and maybe that's something we can kind of get out of this story, and I hope we can, you know, show that Bruce, I guess, can find love with a person who's also gone through some trauma in her life. I'm not saying I want to see her as a superhero, but I would really like to see, you know, that change, because then it really shows that this arc really changed Bruce for something, and not just to say, oh, James was Batman for, you know, this period of time, or Bruce was Bruce for this period of time. I would like to see kind of a new status quo, and that could be the new status quo. I know I'd be happy with it, because I think Julie already has proven to be a really interesting character. So yes, this was my favorite book of the week. I gave it 5 stars. It was my pick of the week. It blew me away. I thought it was a great book. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like me on Facebook. Also, don't forget to check out my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline. And guys, of course I'll have Comic Uno episode 134 next week. I'll see you guys later. Bye.